Hello everyone, this is Carol Adams with Carol Adams Creations. I am going to be starting on a project. I can't finish it because my, well, let me just show you. So, first things first, I am using tonight this folk art home decor wood tint in walnut. I'm using some Mod Podge. I'm using a big rubber stamp. If you have like an embossing template or an embossing plate that you use like in a die cutting machine, that would work great. This was the only thing that I had. And you need a palette knife, a roller, and since I could not find the size heart that I wanted, an elongated heart. I had this design in my mind, and then of course I couldn't find what I wanted. I'm using this creative paper clay. I think you can see that. I bought this at Michael's, I believe, and I thought it was white, but it is more of a kind of a grayish cream, I guess you could say. And then I'm using this board. I really have no idea where I bought this. Art Minds, that may be Michael's, I'm not certain. But this board is 12 inches by 5 1/4, and it's 1/4 inch thick. I didn't finish the top because I actually want my husband to cut this off for me right there at that line. And of course, today he had to go into work today. So it's just been a quiet, rainy day around here. It's been kind of, I won't say that. I'll just leave it at that. Then what I did is I printed off, and yes, this is backwards. It's not just the camera. This is Jesus Loves Me, This I Know, which is a public domain piece, which means you can just get it off of the internet. And I will put, it came from mobilehymns.org, but I will put the website that I got this in the comments when I post the video, after I post the video. So you have to print this backwards. That's very, very important, is to print it backwards. So I made mine to be big enough to go onto my board. And I have already attached this to my board. I just did a layer of Mod Podge, and then I just put it down upside down, just like this. So now all the white is just showing. And then I did this about 30 minutes ago because I wanted this to dry. And because it needs to be dry before we do the next step. So let me try to figure out which thing I want to do first. Okay, so let's make a heart out of our paper clay. So this was just kind of my leftovers from yesterday. And this was the heart that I made. It's real humid here. So it says on the packaging that it could take 2 to 3 days. And it's still really cold to the touch. So I know it's not dry because it's still kind of flexible. But this is my heart. This was what I wanted. This right here was what I wanted. And so I had to get real creative and make it myself. I will tell you, I let it dry overnight with my front side up, and then I turned it over this morning, and my edges kind of started lifting up a little bit. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to keep it this way instead of backwards. Does that make sense at all? So anyway, so it takes 2 to 3 days, so you kind of got to plan ahead. So all I did was I pulled some of this off, and I placed it down. I have a little roller here. You could even use a can, or you could even use this bottle if you wanted. You're just wanting to get it to be a thin, pretty even all the way around. You really don't want any edges to be more than the other, and you can roll it out as thin or as thick as you want it. And I'm sorry, this is, I think you can see this. I don't think this is any better. Is that better? Maybe a little. Then I use a palette knife because I don't have my X-Acto knife, because my, oh, I just broke the tip of that. Wow. Because my husband took it downstairs and has not brought it back up to the craft room where it belongs. So I'm going to take my palette knife. I'm not bitter or anything about it. And I'm just going to cut out my heart. And you could use a template for this if you wanted. I just freehanded it. And then I'm going to smooth the edges down a little bit. And then I'm going to roll this back up and put it back in my baggie to use for another project. This did not take much at all. Okay, so you can see which side you want to use. I think I may use this side. Now, because I really wanted to emboss something, and I just didn't have, I didn't have anything to use. So I just am going to use this big rubber stamp. You don't even have to do anything if you don't want to. I just wanted to add a little bit more of texture. So all I'm going to do is I am just going to stamp, and not press really hard, but just give it a little bit of pressure. And you can see, if it doesn't slide down, get my hand out of the way. Hopefully, you know, you probably still can't see it. Hold on a second. I'm going to do the top because it didn't really get the top very well. Okay. I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me see. Oh, yeah, you can. Kind of. It just gives it a little bit of texture and a little bit of dimension. And we are just going to let that dry. And I'm just going to put this back here. Okay, so then the next step, this is the fun part. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that this works. I've done this before, but it's been a while. So I'm using a spray bottle. This does take some time, and you do have to be patient with it. But I'm just going to do this in sections, and I'm just going to wet this. Let it soak for just a minute. I'm going to get a paper towel underneath here so it doesn't get my paper completely wet as I just threw water everywhere. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to start rubbing. And what you're doing is you're rubbing the back layer of the paper off, and it should leave us, I say should, it should leave us with the music. And I wasn't sure, should have left this white, but I did kind of want it to be faint and looked really old and aged. Let me get a little more done. And you kind of have to do this, like I said, gently, but I mean, you know, with a little bit of pressure. Do a little more over here, and then I think you'll be able to see. Oh, this looks so good. This just really looks kind of like someone printed it on here. Can you see that? Hopefully you can see that. Looks really good. And I'm just going to keep on rubbing. You just have to make sure that you get all the pulp of the paper off. At least the top layer is what you're trying to do. And the main thing that if you're using words, you have to remember that you have to reverse it. Otherwise, this will be backwards. I'm almost done. And like I said, if you still see some of the white, just keep rubbing till you get off as much as you want. I will finish all this bottom part up after in a bit, but I won't watch me have it doing the whole thing. So here we go. Here's our almost completed board. And then, like I said, I'm gonna have my husband cut this off, and then I'm gonna add I may add a wood bead hanger to this one. I'm not real certain. It may be a wire one. I don't know yet. So here's my heart, and I'm just going to set it right here and glue it on here. And then I'm going to add some lace or some jute twine on here. And yeah, I just think this is really going to be pretty. I haven't decided if I should paint my heart red, which that might look really pretty, and then just kind of use maybe some of this walnut stain to kind of distress it to get into some of those crevices that it has left.